Hey everyone, my name is Cora Bordley. Sorry for the mask, but I am recording from a common office space because my roommate is in law school and has a final and told me I'm not allowed to make any noise in the house this morning. So I am here, masked up. I am the youth education coordinator at Middle Fork Willamette Watershed Council, which is a really awesome job. I also work for the University of Oregon outdoor program as collaborative programming coordinator. So I have two jobs right now. And I am also finishing my senior year of college. So I'm a very busy person uh, until I graduate in like a few weeks. But more on how I got to this insane busy schedule. I was working, or nope, I wasn't working yet. I had a middle school teacher named Dr. Wright who was very mean to me. She would always give me like the harshest grades, and I absolutely hated her until we had a conversation and she revealed that I think you would be really good at geography, which is what she had her doctorate in. She was English, and apparently that's a much more common degree in the UK than it is in the United States. And after I got over the my hatred of her, and I realized that she actually cared deeply about me and wanted me to like do what I was good at, we got to be being friends, and we talked all the time. And I came to the conclusion that, oh my God, I'm going to be a geography major. Now, for those of you who have not considered being a geography major, which I'm guessing is most of you, most people don't even know that's an option. Geography is, you don't just name all the countries on the map. We've done that already. But it's basically when you study everything, for lack of a better term. You learn geology and ecology and history and sociology and all of those things that go into why humans live the way they do and where they do. It's a super interesting major for people who can't decide what they want to major in, and it's totally underrated. So I decided I was going to major in geography in my like junior or senior year of high school because I didn't have anything else I wanted to major in. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, but I knew that like, okay, the geography major sounds awesome. So I looked online and I saw the schools with the best geography programs were like Harvard and Yale, which I wasn't going to get into, and then University of Oregon, University of Washington, University of Colorado Boulder, and then a bunch of schools in California. I knew I didn't want to move to California. I lived in Pennsylvania at the time. But I knew Oregon and Washington and Colorado were awesome. So I applied to all three and I got into all three. And then University of Oregon gave me the most money to come here. So I came here, never paid too much for college, important life lesson. So I came to University of Oregon, entered the geography program, and it was just fantastic. It was a really amazing small program. There was a lot of like one-on-one mentoring and all of that. I didn't work my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was an RA and I hated it. I got thrown up on one too many times to consider a field in the in anything remotely RA related. And then my junior year, I was looking for jobs after having quit being an RA. And I saw something come up at the University of Oregon outdoor program, which for those of you who aren't familiar, is a program at UO that allows students in a non-COVID year to lead and go on outdoor recreation trips all over Oregon, all over the country, really. Like in a normal year, every spring there's a trip down to Baja California to go sea kayaking. And we also provide gear and equipment rentals to students who have their own adventure they want to go on but just need stuff. So if you need a tent, if you need snow pants, if you need skis, we can rent that to you for cheap. So there was a job at the University of Oregon outdoor program called Collaborative Programming Coordinator, which was responsible for increasing diverse usership of the outdoor program. And I saw that and I was like, yes, that is the job for me. So I applied and I got it. And I say now that I'm kind of cursed because I found my dream job my junior year of college. And now I hold every job to these unreasonably high standards. So it was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me because it pointed me exactly in the direction I wanted my career to go. But also my first real job was awesome and amazing and fun. And I loved the people I was working with and I loved what I was doing. So now I can never have a job that's anything less than awesome. So, what I was responsible for is collaborating with student groups and university offices. So, like the Black Student Union, the Asian Pacific Student Union, the Multicultural Education Center, to increase diverse usership of the outdoor program because we had a problem with being kind of white and kind of male, um, and very upper middle class. And if you didn't notice, I am in fact Black or half Black. So that was a cause that was really close to my heart because I really love being outside. I love getting other people outside. And it's really sad that so many systemic barriers keep other people of color outside. So I did this work for a little over 2 years. And then at the end of my senior year, I was selected to work a fellowship at Rocky Mountain National Park for as their education fellow, where I would be leading their educational programs for the summer. And then COVID happened. They did not cancel my fellowship. So I went to Rocky Mountain National Park anyway in Colorado, which was amazing. It turns out if you're a park ranger, you live in a big neighborhood at the base of the national park with all of the other park rangers. And it is like summer camp every night. It's so much fun. But I went to Rocky Mountain National Park and my dog is whining in the background. And I worked there for 6 months doing educational programming with the interpretive rangers. So not like within the national park system, there's multiple types of rangers. There's like the cop rangers that we call LEs. And then there's like backcountry rangers who are the ones who like put on backpacks and go out and like rescue people from the top of Long's Peak. That's not me. I'm not that fit. And then there's the interpretive rangers, the ones who like hang out on the trails and teach people things. And now my dog's barking, so I have to yell at him. Goosey, no. So I worked with the interpretive rangers. And while I liked doing interpretive work and teaching other people about nature more so than I had in my previous job, I hated working for the federal government because it took us 2 weeks to get permission to move a table. So after that program, I stopped looking for jobs in the federal government and I started looking at jobs in nonprofits. And my current job at Middle Fork came up. So I decided to apply for that because it was in Eugene and my roommates in Eugene hadn't filled my bedroom from the time I left for Rocky. So I was able to, so I applied for that. There were like 200 applicants. And then for some bizarre reason, they were like, yeah, Cora's the one. But I got the job somehow. And I was able to just slide back into my room in Eugene, which was super convenient. And then I started working at Middle Fork as their youth education coordinator. So in a non-COVID year, I would be doing all of the awesome outdoor school programming you typically do in these sorts of programs. So like stream water testing, taking kids out to the field, macroinvertebrate sampling. If you remember the program from elementary school where you like raise salmon eggs and bring them to the classroom and then release like the fry salmon, I was in charge of that. But COVID was happening, so I'm not allowed to take any kids anywhere and I have to spend a lot of time on Zoom. So what do I do all day? I have been modifying a lot of curriculum to be done remotely. I work with the city of Oak Ridge and the EPA to facilitate community education surrounding air quality for this really big grant project going on in Oak Ridge. I talk to students like you guys in career day formats and over Zoom, however I can. I like to, it's nice to talk to people. That's the terrible thing about pandemics is you don't get to talk to people and have like casual conversations. I miss casual conversation. But I talk to people like you guys over Zoom career days, and I help teachers with things like lesson plans and resources for anything relating to like environmental science or the watershed specifically. Within the Watershed Council, we employ 5 people. Our executive director, Sarah, who is lovely, myself, the operations director, who does things like finance and bookkeeping and pays our bills, our community engagement coordinator, Gail, who is responsible for all of our social media posts and planning events and anything that would involve other people in the watershed. In a non-COVID year, that would be a super, super fun job that I'm sure she would love to talk to you about, because we host a lot of cool events and like community cleanups and all of that. But during COVID, there's not a lot of cool stuff that the community can do. And then myself, who is the youth education coordinator. And I absolutely love it. It is so much fun. I am so glad that that teacher was really mean to me in 6th grade and told me, like, no, you need to be a geography major. You are so much smarter than this. And kind of put me on the track to be where I am now, because she was fantastic. Majoring in geography was definitely one of the best decisions I made. Before that, I was going to go into undergrad as a psychology major, which I took one psychology class and I was like, this is awful. And super glad I didn't do that. The geography program was awful, or not awful. Geography program rocked. Psychology was the. And now I have a job that I love and I get to do it every day. And I get to bring my dog to work, which is pretty awesome. So, yeah, I hope that helped some of you figure out something and you learned something from my very informal career journey. One thing that was really important to me in finding a job that I wanted is I can't be uber professional. That sounds bad. But my dad is the kind of guy who goes to work in like a suit and tie every day. But I wanted to have a job where I could have fun and be silly and wear comfortable shoes. And that is one of the things that really like forced me into this field. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hey, sorry, Helen, I really appreciate, it's really great to have someone that's, fairly close to the student's age, and just to be really explicit about your path, and the waywardness of it. I love that. And I also really just wanted to say that I love that you're like, you got to know yourself kind of, and where it's going to take you, what kind of path. Like, and I think some of my students, we've been writing personal statements, and I'm like, what fills you up? Like, when do you feel like happiest, So if you want to go into environmental science or a resource management career, maybe you want something that's more field oriented, and informal than another type of job. So I really appreciate that. Cora, I'm wondering if you could just tell students just a little bit about what a watershed council is. There's quite a few in our area.
Totally.
And then like what kind of positions they have, that students just can kind of be thinking about.
So watershed councils are basically assigned to take a chunk of to take over a water. We're in charge of a watershed, basically. So if you know what a watershed is, if you know what a watershed is, we are in charge of the Middle Fork Willamette Watershed. We are in charge of environmental stewardship, restoration projects within that watershed, and collaborating with all of the various stakeholders in the watershed. So that is like the federal government in the form of the Forest Service, the Army Corps of Engineers, private landowners, logging companies, all of those things. And we work with all of them for the best interest of the watershed in the form of restoration and stewardship. And there's my boss, Margaret. She's great. She works for the outdoor program. And we are responsible for kind of engaging the community surrounding watershed issues. So environmental issues that surround the watershed, and then youth education within the watershed. And typically they're very small organizations. Like the one I work for only has 5 employees. And it would be a similar structure to what I'm working in now, where it's like an executive director, a restoration projects manager who can tell you more about the restoration side and is actually very cool. But she's the one who comes in with the heavy equipment and like removes blockages from rivers and like plants native plants and pulls invasives and does all of that. And then someone who does like community engagement, social media, that sort of thing. The person who, our operations coordinator, who does just the business things that you need to keep a business running. And then a youth education coordinator like myself, who is in charge of youth education.
Thanks. Students, any questions for Cora? You can put them in the chat or you can just speak them up. You got to use extra wait time with Zoom. Anybody out there have some questions?
You could ask any questions.
I guess
I have
Mary
a
Beth
very
wants to-
interesting personal life.
So, Cora, I think you were so thorough. Everybody understands. Oh, we got one question coming in. Can you go into a similar field without majoring in geography?
Absolutely. If you want to major in ecology, so what I highly recommend you do is just go on a job website and look at jobs and then see the ones where you say, ooh, that looks cool. I'd like to do that. And then read what the qualifications are. Nowhere in job qualifications do they ever ask for a geography degree, because I am one of like 10 people in the United States that has one. But degrees like ecology, biology, geology, really any of the earth sciences would be totally applicable to this. It's just a matter of how you want to use it. I did geography because it's a lot less specific. So I need to know that glaciers happen. I don't need to be able to do the math to calculate how fast a glacier moves, which is good because I'm a math illiterate. So it's a lot of less specific stuff. But if you want to get into more of, but if you want to do something more like specific, like geology or ecology or any of those things, you can totally do that. And a geography degree is almost never a prerequisite for anything unless you want to be a cartographer.
Great, thank you. So another question, do you go out to the bike trail with the big red covered bridge? Just curious if that is part of your area.
Bike trail with big red covered bridge. It might be. So we go from basically Mount Pisgah all the way up into the Willamette past where people live. So if it's in like Lowell, Oak Ridge, anywhere like that, it's probably us, although I don't know where you're talking about specifically.
Okay. And did you ever question if this career choice was the best for you?
Yes. So one thing that is super important to me career-wise is like having the right lifestyle to go with it. As I mentioned previously, I live with a law student, and listening to her talk about law school things and all of the things associated with being a lawyer, like buying clothes from Ann Taylor Loft and all of that, looks miserable. I couldn't do it. I know that lawyers will make exponentially more money than I ever will, but I would just be so unhappy having to work like that every day. So that was probably my biggest consideration, is this job a job that would make me happy? Is it something that I can see myself doing for 40 years? There is no job. They always say like find a job you love and you never work a day in your life, which is completely untrue, because no matter what job you have, there's going to be days that are just annoying and full of administrative tasks that aren't super fun. But find a job that you love and you won't regret working is completely true. I love what I do and I'm happy to do it every day. Well, I'm happy to do it most days. There's certain days where I have to fill out grant applications and dig through like 10 years of our financial history to find specific numbers, which isn't particularly fun. But yeah, I definitely spent a lot of time considering if it was right for me and if it would give me the lifestyle that I wanted.
Great. I think, anybody have any last questions? Give this about a couple of seconds. Anybody want to ask one more question of Cora? Anybody? Okay. we will move on to our next speaker,
Great. Thank you, guys.
Nancy. Thanks, Cora.
Hi, it's good to be here.